So, it's a brand new Squale watch. I'm wearing a collar reb. I'm in a Lacoste shirt. It's not 2016. We are in 2026. This is a new release. Only 500 of them. And of course, if you can't tell by the beautiful heraldry on the box, it is a Marina Militare collaboration. Possibly one of the best releases of the year. Not perfect, quite a few negatives, a lot to discuss. But also, why did this lost pearl of the ocean of a brand get left behind when all the rest of them went on to swim in DuckTales money? Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. I'll start off with a quick wristwatch check, wearing the Janeiro by Tissot, and it is of course on the ostrich collar reb, handmade, tutto fatto in Italia, a mano. Still the best luxury, affordable as well, straps from my good friends at Holborn's. Yeah, I know, it feels like 2016. I'm still in Queens. Well, to be honest, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Well, maybe Italy. Anyway, let's start off with a bit of context, shall we? But you've heard this story before, so I'll skip to the 2001 specifically. And no, I'm not talking about Stanley Kubrick's masterpiece, but a different capolavoro from incidentally the same year, being first released in 1968. But like the movie, it was way ahead of its time in terms of innovation, being influential, and still is. With brands like Seiko, Omega, Doxa, and countless others soon following this barrel-style case design shape themselves. In fact, many of the Swiss brands being directly based on von Buren's earlier work when he served as head of the Maison de Plongeur at Lake Neuchâtel. But the 2001's cult status was really started when the famed oceanographer Jacques Cousteau gifted one of the first generation to his friend Michael Laval, the first officer on the iconic ship the Calypso, in order to commemorate a 1972 Antarctic expedition. This highlights several important points. Firstly, just how evidently well-favoured the 2001 was amongst professionals, truly in the know, like Cousteau obviously, and secondly, how short-lived the original 2001 was, being superseded almost immediately by the 2002. Almost as if the 2001 was just an unfinished prototype that accidentally got released. The 2001 was initially capable of 600 meters, or 60 atmos, as Squale liked to use the more traditional Jules Vernian atmospheres. But then it was later tested again at a highly impressive 1,000 meters, and thus marked 100 atmos. The 2002 was also confusingly referred to as the 101, which would further develop the 2001's lugless UFO-like distinctive curves into a bigger, meaner, and even more capable beast of the deep. With only Rolex beating them in 1967 with the Sea Dweller more famously. This was in order to house a new, revolutionary automatic helium escape valve, but that was only capable to 600 meters. And maybe this explains why von Buren was in such a rush. But of course, as is so often the case, and that is the worst watch pun ever there, only the big boy brands that could afford movie placements and sponsor opera events got all the acclaim. Meanwhile, the 2002 would go on to be issued to the Polizia di Stato, Sommozzatori, and then the naval units of La Guardia di Finanza, before ending its overlooked evolution with a final manifestation as the ultra-rare and more angular reference 2003. So I guess we'll start with the scale first. At its widest point, it's 41.5, which is just fantastic. It's very much on trend in terms of the current desires for this scale. Remarkably, it's quite slender. I know smidgen over 13 might seem thick, but you got to remember this is only 0.5 millimeter thicker than the Willard, and the Willard is 200 meters. So this is 3 times the water resistance. Just astounding. It just goes to show you what masters Squale are of getting that high depth rating. So just shy of 50 for lug to lug, and of course we don't get a lug width, the traditional lug width. We'll come back to that in the negatives. Spoilers there. Now, in terms of the finishing, you'll probably notice it's much more involved than before. We get brushed on the sides, high polished everywhere else, and then scalloped edge, which we'll discuss in just a moment. It's quite an interesting method of water resistance. It's a little bit more elevated, and the quality is exceptional. You've got anti-reflective coating. Now let's discuss the star of the show, and that is this completely unique to the brand bezel. Genius bit of engineering. It's very, very easy to use. You just push down and then let go, and it slots into the ratcheted 60 click. It's bi-directional. As you see the lineup, there's no alignment issues. You're probably wondering, how does this still qualify for ISO considering it's bi-directional? Well, ISO stipulates that you have to protect against accidental knocks, and this is something very, very important. If you push down on one side, it doesn't unlock. You have to have a equal amount of pressure on both sides to unlock, and thus it still qualifies for ISO. The spring in it is just the right tolerances. Now the edge of the bezel is this beautiful cog style. It is very ergonomically efficient, absolutely pure class, a pleasure to use. It's somehow strangely addictively satisfying to turn and set. I just love it. Now if I bring in the Squale book, you'll see this interesting tool with the scalloped edge used to tighten the top section, a sandwich of different components that compresses down a inner, well, double gasket system. The sapphire crystal sits a little bit lower. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. And if you compare it to what Omega came up with for their Plo Prof, which was years later, had that clumsy and inconvenient structure for the button on the side. It was a lot more involved, a lot more complicated, and at the end of the day, they didn't really reach any depth more than Squale did. And as I said, that was years later. So now the bezel insert is also sapphire glass, but to achieve that kind of faux Bakelite style, they've then put an insert under it. Best of both worlds. It looks old school, yet you've got modern anti-scratch resistance. Now the barrel design means it basically doesn't have any lugs, and that really makes it so comfortable. It wears extremely similar to the Willard, which I can attest is one of the most comfortable dive watches of all time, actually, come to think of it. Another bonus of this style of case is that when they are on the wrist, you can do press-ups, and in a military context these are fantastic because there's no crown that's going to dig into the back of your hand. Another reason why the Willard for me is a fantastic workout watch. But like the 1521 here, we've got that 4 o'clock crown, but if you look, the way it's tucked in, it's perfect. It's got the exposed top so you can get good grip on it, and yet it doesn't protrude outwards. It makes it very much an ambidextrous watch. The way the case is done, the hood section here where the strap or bracelet attaches, it's angled just the right amount to lead the thumb in and wind and unscrew the crown. In terms of the movement, well, inside we've got the Sellita SW200. If you've seen news, Sellita are about to update this with a new replacement for the 200, and the great thing is it's the same size, so this will be future proof as well. There will be those complaints, oh, why not have an in-house movement, blah blah blah. Well, Squale make tool watches at the end of the day, and I think it's a less riskier option in terms of servicing, maintenance, reliability. Now the strap, I really like the strap actually. It feels premium. I would have preferred the Tropic style just because Tropic is a lot more breathable and comfortable. We'll get to the bracelet later on. Just the standard Squale buckle on there, nothing else. For the lume, we've got Superluminova C3. It's not the best in the world, not the worst, certainly. I would say it's a strong luminescence. The bezel is partly lumed, but most importantly, that triangle is lumed, because past versions of this watch, they didn't lume the triangle, which just was so strange because you got no point of reference and kind of nullified the, the rest of the lume. But it is lumed here, so yeah, pretty good.
Attenzione che questa è la seconda immersione. Bisogna usare molta prudenza. Regoliamo I nostri cronometri.
How many brands, if any, can you actually watch video footage of the founder himself setting a bezel before a dive? I mean, it's just astounding. You'd never see the founder of Rolex, Omega, Blancpain, Seiko, Doxa, or any other brand doing this for that matter. The point I'm trying to make here is that the design language and aesthetic decisions were therefore directly dictated from real-world testing by a small independent agile company which gave von Buren the ability to move faster with his own research and development. This hands-on idiomatic approach resulted in many others desperately trying to keep up by either, well, just straight up copying, imitating, or even hiring him personally, and many being inspired by an osmosis of his trend-setting designs. Case literally in point, the Seiko diver rivalry with the Swiss of the late 60s as they tried to muscle in before letting off their own horological nuke that was the quartz crisis. Brands like Omega spent most of the 70s in fact trying to replicate von Buren's tech in a myriad of wonderfully strange and adventurous designs, some of which I've shared before. But take my beloved Willard, for example. While the original 6105 of 1968 was unquestionably an evolved amalgamation of everything Seiko had done before, which I've also explored in several videos, when it came to refining it, you can clearly see with the first Turtles of 1976, like the reference 6306 and 6309, just how much of an inspiration Squale had on the industry, even oceans away on the other side of the world. In 1968, under the direction of consultant Frederick Robert, Omega initiated a 4-year intensive research and development project with the objective to build the ultimate watch for ultra-deep saturation diving. The result was the iconic Seamaster 600, first in 1971, and then the Seamaster 1000 in 1972. The numbers logically reflecting their depth rating capabilities. They worked closely with Comex and a particular legendary French diver. Yep, you guessed it, the one and only Jacques Cousteau. The very same chap who, around this time, gifted away a Squale 2001 we mentioned earlier. Coincidence? I don't think so. Unlike almost all microbrands that pull from an imaginary legacy, right? But it's typically other people's heritage. Well, there's only a handful of brands actually in the microbrand space who have such a rich design legacy to pull from. Forgive the pun, but von Buren really was at the crest of the wave. And arguably, you could say this is from the peak, I think, of the brand's influence. So what's different design-wise with this particular Marina Militare version? Well, firstly, the tone of blue on the strap, sunray dial and bezel insert were all specified by the Italian Navy. Surprisingly, it's not the same Capri blue that is found in their heraldry on the elegant commemorative box that also graces the lightly engraved caseback, at least monochromatically, of course. Instead of a predictable azzurro, it's a vibrant Spartan blue, or sometimes referred to as true blue. Then there's the faded goldfish orange of the printed Marina Militare towards the 6 o'clock, which is typical with these collaborations, and in full caps, and will please the twisted knickers of those who complain about the more standard double Squale signature. The overall layout is certainly a departure from the multifaceted applied and more intricate originals. This classical Submariner style is unquestionably more effective in orientation. Thankfully, the handset remains pleasingly the same with that iconic index style and paddle-tipped seconds hand, along with one of von Buren's more crucial inventions, the neon orange minute hand for that vital timing in conjunction with the bezel. An innovation that would soon be copied industry-wide for being so effectively legible in low light. The chapter ring at the periphery is also kept unchanged from the past, with a crisp, high-contrast black printing on white. So what are the negatives? Well, let's start off with the dial. Now this is a very minor thing, but the framing of the date window, I don't really get it with this non-applied dial. On the older models they had just printing, which it's weird. I would have liked the applied on these and then the printing on this, so the other way around. I think it would have worked better. It would have been more congruent. But again, this is a very, very minor issue. Secondly, the 19mm lug width. I've said it 1,000 times. No watch enthusiast likes odd numbers. And you know, you want to buy tropic straps, you want to buy this, that, and the other, maybe I don't know, a nice mesh bracelet. Having an odd number just makes it an absolute pain. I don't know why watch brands still insist on this. It's almost as if they don't ever watch reviews, and they probably don't, but they should, because it's basically free market research. Let's bring in the bracelets, shall we? Now, aside from my Rolex Submariner, I don't typically wear bracelets on my dive watches that much, because when I'm doing cardio, it just rubs on the wrist, causes blisters, bleeding. Now, they did this kind of semi-skeletonized, you know, like they did back in the 70s or late 60s. It's cute, but it feels like a gimmick. This bracelet is quite jingly jangly, surprising, and we got this dated fold over clasp. We do get a rather rudimentary diver extension, extra little holes there to get a better fit, but this feels incredibly dated. I mean, it's 2026 and this is the bracelet. Yeah, they are screwed links, which is nice, but that's about it. For a watch this expensive, add some extra tropic or two, or a NATO strap or something, or G10, and lower the price. Some things just need to stay in the past, right? Now, the movement, it does feel dated. It should have been COSC certified, in my opinion, for this price, and they don't state to what level this is regulated to. I wish brands, again, I've been saying this in many reviews, I wish brands would stipulate, kind of like what Hanhart do, to what this is regulated to. Just be more transparent about it and communicate that fact. Us watch nerds, we love this information. So the biggest negative here is that there's nothing new here, aside from, you know, a change of color. And it's a handsome color, don't get me wrong. It's 2026 and this is a tougher sell, especially considering the toxicity and the kind of unsocial media what it's become now. While this is undoubtedly a great, solid, capable watch, you know, how many times are we going to see rehashes of the past? I want to see something new. I want to see something exciting. I mean, just think about for a second Von Buren out there testing watches at the cutting edge, you know, really pushing the limit. He wouldn't have just brought back a watch again and again. If you look what's going on in the watch market now, it's being led by more daring design. With that thinking, that's something Von Buren would do if he was alive today. He'd be doing something super crazy but really functional, like this was back in the late 60s. You cannot rest on your laurels forever. You're going to have to do something more.
Perfect.
Today, Squale still make tool watches, basically, when all the rest of the brands that it helped make legendary have gone on to greener pastures, right? Why is Squale still this kind of long-lost gem? The 2001 is certainly an acquired taste, with its more aggressively retro-licious aesthetics. Sadly, however, while this kind of reissue would have been totally unique a decade ago, in these more cynical and entitled online times, I feel it will get lost in the murkier waters of an increasingly oversaturated watch market. So why is this watch and brand still so underrated? Well, limited editions have certainly become a little old hat, with every watch publication and watch store jumping on the bandwagon, but not out of passion for the craft or love of watches, simply to grab money. And it cheapens it, like stuffed singles in a stripper's thong, kind of cheap. But nonetheless, Von Buren's crown emblem, inspired by his own noble heraldry, doesn't make the watch any more luxurious, but it does do something far more important. It reminds us of its legitimacy, a trailblazing legacy that most money-hungry brands would have invariably gone upscale with for bigger profits. What typically starts as a great, dependable tool then becomes beloved, then predictably premium to improve quality, and finally ending up as a kind of exclusive luxury delusion. Squale hasn't done this. Aside from natural inflation, of course, they remain the unpretentious, handsome tools they once were in a never-ending ocean of sellouts. Panerai, for example, has done a masterful job of myth-making self-aggrandizement. On such a Wagnerian scale, you would think only demigods wear them. Their storytelling suggests the buyer is either a few seconds away from rappelling out of a helicopter like Duke Nukem,
Come get some.
or about to sip overpriced spritzers in some kind of Italian cliched tourist trap like a wannabe Don Draper posing duck-faced on Instagram. This watch has no interest in looking like a macho, pugnacious utilitarian tool, but also no aspirational Mad Men BS either. It's just an honest attempt to capture the bellezza of its own glory days. So much so, it's perhaps to its detriment. And this is honestly a very rare thing in the world of martial horology. One should also take into consideration that earning an official military contract like this, especially in Italy, is extremely difficult. They don't just give permission to anyone. And so Squale seems to carry on existing in a helium bubble of its own making, almost as if emetic-causing marketing terms like lifestyle and impressions and activations just don't exist to them. And maybe they don't. The upside is, Squale feels more authentic. They haven't opened a showroom in NYC in a cheesy attempt to buy clout. And you know what they say.
Those who want respect, give respect.
This isn't an industrial scale operation, but a cult favourite with ineffable coolness. They should be in stores from here to Miami, Moya Fine Jewelers, for example, being the only exception stateside, where you can actually physically walk in and try them on. It shouldn't be like that. But in closing, it's a professional-grade tool that has not been overly prostituted into a perfidious product of fake luxury, and nor does it suggest there's a better version of you hiding within its slick packaging. And this translates to a sort of lovable noblesse oblige. And despite the negatives, this smaller size, I wish it was general release. Maybe that's another negative, right? By no means perfect, but most importantly, it has that ineffable charm that made me fall in love with the brand over a decade ago when I discovered it for myself. Distinctive personality that just smacks of summer. It's funny because I didn't have a Squale back then, but it makes me think of my childhood. A Gaeta, La Spiaggia. I can smell the sun tanning lotion, and I can almost feel the sand between my toes when I look at this. Alright guys, let me know what you think down in the comments. Was I too harsh on this one? I guess it's because, especially when I talk about brands that I really, really love, I get maybe a little overly critical because I want to see them do better. I want Squale to return to the crest of the wave that Von Buren certainly was leading. Let me know what you think in the comments. What would you like to see from Squale? Don't forget to like this video, especially if you want to see more free, independent, AI-free, non-watch dealer content. Best way to support the channel. I will catch you in the next one. Onwards and upwards. Thank you for watching. Ciao.